For years, the world wondered why the planet's most fearless action star could run toward a crashing helicopter, yet never walk toward his own daughter. Today, at 19, the girl once known as Suri Cruise has finally broken her silence. She isn't speaking through a tell-all interview or a glossy magazine spread. She is speaking through the life she has chosen to build far outside the shadow of the man who hasn't been seen with her in over a decade. The fractures of a silent beginning. Suri's story began on April 18, 2006, at St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica. It was a birth wrapped in a chilling silence. Her mother, Katie Holmes, followed the strict, silent birth protocols of Scientology, suppressing every sound of pain while observers in dark suits monitored the room. Tom Cruise called it devotion. Katie would later realize it was survival. For Suri, it was the first chapter of a childhood governed by rules she would eventually spend her life running from. During her earliest years, the world saw a perfect Hollywood family. There were red carpets, private estates, and the image of a doting father. But behind the gates, the atmosphere was suffocating. Friends noticed that Katie was never alone, always flanked by handlers who moved like shadows. Then, when Suri turned 6, the footsteps in the hallway stopped. June 2012 became the year the music died. In one of the most calculated moves in Hollywood history, Katie Holmes filed for divorce while Tom was filming Oblivion in Iceland. She didn't just want a legal separation. She was executing a military-grade escape. To the public, it was a headline. To a 6-year-old girl, it was the day half of her universe vanished without warning. A mother's silent war for freedom. The truth that royal time of Hollywood can reveal is that Katie's escape was born of deep-seated fear. She changed burners' phones, avoided monitored rooms in her own home, and replaced staff she believed were reporting to the Church of Scientology. Her primary terror? That as Suri grew older, she would be indoctrinated into the church's Sea Org program. Katie chose New York as her battleground because its laws favored the child's stability. In just 11 days, the divorce was finalized. Tom agreed to pay $400,000 a year in child support, but Katie walked away with the only thing that mattered: sole custody and the right to raise Suri outside the organization. They slipped into New York City like ghosts, leaving behind the life they knew to save the life Suri had yet to live. Growing up with an invisible father. For most, memories of a father are built on bedtime stories and school plays. For Suri, her memories are fading snapshots from before age 6. As she grew up in New York, her father became a distant spectator. She saw him hanging from skyscrapers on movie posters and performing death-defying stunts on every screen in the city. He was everywhere except in her life. Every birthday that passed without a call, every milestone met with silence, added weight to the void. By her early teens, Suri began to see the difference between a busy schedule and a choice. She learned emotional independence not by choice, but by necessity, riding the subway alone and carrying her disappointments in a way that wouldn't worry her mother. Reports suggest that Tom hasn't been photographed with Suri since 2013. To the world, it was a mystery. To Suri, it was her reality, being the daughter of a man who felt more like a rumor than a memory. The realization and the breaking point. When the pandemic hit in 2020, a 14-year-old Suri finally had the time to seek her own answers. She researched the testimonies of former Scientology members and the concept of disconnection, a practice where members sever ties with those outside the faith. She realized she wasn't a threat. She was simply outside. The realization was heartbreaking. She hadn't grown up hating her father. She had grown up waiting for him. She spent 12 years standing in a doorway, hoping for footsteps she would never hear again. At 15, she watched her mother quietly wipe away tears after seeing a news report about Tom's latest blockbuster. The weight was mutual, heavy, and unspoken. April 2024 marked Suri's 18th birthday. It wasn't just a milestone, it was a breaking point. As a legal adult, she no longer needed permission to define her own identity. In her college application essays, she wrote words that haunted those who read them. Sometimes we don't grow up with love. We grow up with the space that love leaves behind. Choosing a new identity. Suri Noel Holmes. On May 17, 2024, Suri made her most powerful move yet. She officially dropped Cruz from her name, choosing to be known as Suri Noel Holmes. Noel is her mother's middle name, a tribute to the woman who carried her through the storm alone. This wasn't an act of teenage rebellion, it was an act of survival. When she graduated high school, the program didn't list the daughter of a global superstar. It listed a young woman ready to reclaim her future. Now a freshman at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, she studies fashion and lives a life untouched by the Cruz brand. While Tom Cruise continues to break records and sign multi-million-dollar deals, the one thing he never risked was walking across a room to reconcile with his daughter. He still pays for her education and medical bills, fulfilling the 2012 settlement, but the emotional ledger remains empty. Suri is now 19. She no longer checks her phone on her birthday. She no longer waits for an explanation that will never come. She walks into adulthood with a name she chose and a truth she owns. Royal Time of Hollywood wants to know, if you were in Suri's position, would you ever try to reach out one last time? Or would you let the silence remain? If you found this story moving, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell notification